You have watched this video before. Somebody promises real data, warranty claims, dealer surveys, fuel burns, the numbers the industry doesn't want you to see. 24 minutes later, you have nothing but atmosphere and a shrug, and the top comment is always the same 3 words. 30 minutes of nothing. So this one works differently. Every figure here comes from a source you can open yourself. Today, for free. 4 of them. Let's start. Here is the number that never appears in any advertisement. 49.4%. That is Mercury Marine's share of the United States outboard market, reported by Brunswick Corporation, Mercury's parent company, in its third quarter 2025 results. Brunswick puts it more plainly on its own investor page. 1 out of every 2 powerboats in the United States is powered by a Mercury engine. Now go back and look at how every comparison video frames this market. 4 manufacturers. A level fight. Mercury versus Yamaha versus Suzuki versus Honda, each one battling for your dollars. That framing is wrong before the first claim is made. One company holds half the market. The other 3 are dividing what's left. And that changes what market share actually tells you. Because when a brand is in every showroom you walk into, you're not observing a verdict on quality. You're observing distribution. Brunswick's own filing lists more than 9,000 marine dealers and over 900 boat builders in its network. That is the real advantage, and no spec sheet will ever mention it. 2 more figures from the same filing because they're worth holding on to. Brunswick's propulsion segment did just over $2.1 billion in net sales in 2025, and the company states that 80% of its propulsion revenue now comes from products introduced since 2012. That second number is the one to sit with. It tells you this is a company that replaces its own lineup constantly, which is a strategy with a real cost attached, and we'll come back to what that cost looks like. Now, let's talk about fuel economy, because this is where the advertisements can't be wrong, and not for the reason you'd expect. Yamaha publishes performance bulletins, hundreds of them, free on their owner site, listing gallons per hour at every RPM on specific boats. Mercury publishes the same thing at performancedata.mercurymarine.com. Both are real, both are detailed, both are honest, and they cannot be compared to each other. Yamaha tested its engine on Yamaha's chosen hull with Yamaha's chosen propeller and load. Mercury tested its engine on a different hull, a different prop, a different day. There is no independent test that puts all 4 brands on the same boat, on the same water. None. So, when 4 different manufacturers all claim best-in-class fuel efficiency at the same time, none of them is technically lying. The claim simply cannot be falsified. That is not a conspiracy. It's a structural feature of how this industry reports numbers, and it's the single most important thing to understand before you weigh any fuel figure at all. And there's a second thing buried in those published tables that no advertisement will ever put on a billboard. At wide open throttle, almost every modern 4-stroke lands in the same place. The old shop rule is that fuel burn in gallons per hour runs at roughly 10% of rated horsepower. So a 300 horsepower outboard pushed hard drink somewhere near 30 gallons an hour. Mercury, Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda. Pin the throttle, and the differences between them get very small very quickly. Every meaningful efficiency claim in this category lives in the cruise band, not at the top, which means it depends entirely on your hull, your load, your prop, and your right hand. 4 variables the brochure gets to choose, and you don't, but there is one test every outboard sold in America has to pass. Run to the same procedure by every manufacturer with the results published. The EPA maintains a file called Marine SI Engine Certification Data, covering model years 2011 to the present. It was last updated in June 2026. It is a spreadsheet. It is free. Anyone can download it. And every engine family Mercury, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Honda sell in the United States is in there, because a certificate of conformity has to be issued before an engine can legally be introduced into commerce. This is the only genuinely comparable dataset in the entire category. There's an archive alongside it reaching back to 1998, so you can watch an engine family evolve across model years, which is genuinely useful if you're shopping used. So here's the catch, and it matters. That test measures emissions, not fuel economy, and it runs on a duty cycle originally derived from a study of how people actually use pleasure boats, in which the boat spends about 65% of its time below 2,000 RPM. Read that again, then look at the brochure. The brochure quotes best cruise at 3,500 RPM. The standardized test and the marketing number are describing two different boats. Now let's deal with the market itself, because the Doom videos have this badly wrong too. In 2025, United States outboard engine sales totaled 267,000 units. That's a decline of 3.9% year over year. Total market value, $3.5 billion. Average retail price rose 3.2% to $13,081. Engines of 300 horsepower and above led the market with 39,700 units sold. All of that comes from the National Marine Manufacturers Association's 2025 Outboard Trends Report. Now compare it to new boats. New boat retail sales fell 8.8% to 215,237 units, down from 236,000 the year before. So engines dropped 4% while boats dropped nearly 9%. That isn't a collapse. That's a repower market holding up, while new boat buyers sit out. Two more details from the same report sharpen it. Outboard-powered boats made up 67% of all retail boat sales, and on a rolling 12-month basis into February 2026, that segment was down under 7%. So the pain is real, but it is not evenly spread. And geographically, the South Atlantic, the Great Lakes, and the Gulf Coast together accounted for more than 60% of outboard units and better than 2/3 of total market value. 3 regions, 2/3 of the money, which is exactly why dealer density looks so different depending on where you live, and why the same brand can feel unbeatable in one state and unsupported in another. And here's the part nobody says out loud. The full NMMA abstract costs $2,500 if you're not a member, which tells you roughly how many people quoting it on YouTube have actually opened it. Now, let's talk about warranty coverage, because this is where the advertised number and the number that applies to you are frequently not the same number. Suzuki's current program is 5 years on new 4-stroke outboards, and it runs through March 31st, 2027. But read the next line in Suzuki's own terms. Rental and boat club use gets 3 years. Commercial use gets 1. Honda runs what it calls True 5. 5 years, non-declining, factory-backed, fully transferable to the next owner, and Honda sells no extended plan on top of it. Mercury starts at 3 years and offers product protection in gold and platinum tiers, stacking to as much as 8 years total. Yamaha starts at 3 and sells the Yamaha Extended Service Program in 1, 2, or 3-year increments. Stack those extensions, and Suzuki buyers can reach roughly 10 years of coverage, the longest available on any major brand outboard. So the honest comparison isn't 5 versus 3, it's this. What is the coverage for the way you personally use the boat? And what does it cost to get to the year you actually care about? If you run a charter, a guide service, a boat club, or anything that takes paying passengers, the headline number on the banner is not your number. It never was. And that single distinction quietly moves more money than every fuel economy claim in this video combined. Here's something most buyers never consider. Look at who profits from a short base warranty. Brunswick's own corporate description lists financing, insurance, and extended warranty businesses among its service divisions. The extended plan isn't a courtesy the dealer arranges, it's a product line, which means a 3-year base warranty and the 4-year extension sold on top of it are 2 revenue events for the same company. Now look at Honda, 5 years standard and nothing to upsell you afterward. I'm not telling you which structure is better. I'm telling you the warranty length is a commercial decision, not a confession about build quality, and that reading it as a quality signal is exactly the mistake the ads are built to encourage. Honda's version has its own catch, by the way. Owners have had claims denied over gaps in service records. Suzuki's publish policy takes the opposite position, stating it cannot deny warranty solely because you lack receipts. Two brands, two philosophies, and both of them are printed in documents you can read before you buy, rather than discover at the service counter 3 years in. That's the whole point of this segment. The warranty conversation everyone has is about a number on a banner. The warranty conversation that actually decides whether you get paid is in the booklet, and almost nobody opens it until the day they need it. Which brings us to the closest thing to real failure data that exists in public: recalls. Every manufacturer posts them, and the Coast Guard maintains a searchable database at uscgboating.org. Mercury's own recall page lists a joystick piloting steering issue, a top cowl assembly recall covering V6, V8, and V8R outboards, a cowl bezel recall on the 450R and 500R, and a shift link retainer recall on 75 to 150 horsepower engines. Yamaha issued a recall on 2021 and 2022 VF200 through VF250 outboards for ECU software that could leave ignition coils energized, with a stated fire risk, and Honda, the brand the comment sections call bulletproof, recalled BF115, BF150, and BF350 engines in 2025 over a shift actuator rod that could fail under quick forward-to-reverse shifts. The failure mode was a rod that could exceed its fatigue stress limit, leaving the engine unable to shift at all. Owners were told to stop using it immediately. Then came the part that actually hurts. Parts were not available. Honda's Canadian notice, dated July 2025, told owners the fix wouldn't be completed until late fall because of supply chain constraints. Read that as an owner. Your engine is recalled, you can't run it, and the repair is months out. No advertisement in any category prepares you for that sentence. Notice what that list actually shows. 2 different manufacturers issued shift linkage recalls in the same year. That's not a brand problem. That's a category problem, and no brand war video will ever tell you that, because it doesn't sell a side. Here's the variable that none of these 4 datasets captures, and it's probably the one that decides your ownership experience. The dealer. 9,000 of them in Brunswick's network alone. Every number I've given you describes an engine. Not one of them describes the person who will service it. Warranty coverage is only worth what your nearest qualified shop can actually deliver, and that varies more between 2 towns than it does between 2 brands. A commenter with a captain's license and 30 years on the water put it about as well as it can be put. Every manufacturer has produced a model or two that just wasn't good. He'd had a Yamaha throw a piston in open water and sit 6 weeks waiting on parts. Another boater's advice was even shorter. Walk into any outboard repair shop and look at what's on the benches. You'll see all 4 brands. And this cuts hardest against the value brands, which is the irony nobody wants to sit with. Suzuki and Honda can win on paper, on warranty length, on price, on published efficiency, and still be the wrong purchase if the nearest authorized service is 4 hours away and the parts ship from overseas. Coverage you can't reach isn't coverage. It's a document. So here's what to actually do before you sign anything. Download the EPA certification file and find your exact engine family. Read the warranty booklet for your usage class, not the headline on the banner. Search the recall listings for your engine's identification number before money changes hands, not after. And ask the dealer for a performance bulletin on a hull close to yours. Then treat it as one manufacturer's data point, because that is precisely what it is. Then ask the question that costs nothing and tells you everything. How far is the nearest authorized service for this brand? And what is the current wait for gear case work in July? A dealer who answers that honestly has just told you more about your next 5 years than any brochure on the wall. The advertisements aren't wrong the way the conspiracy videos claim. Nobody is hiding a warranty database. They're wrong in a quieter way. They lead with the one number that cannot be independently checked, and they leave out the 4 that can. The ads quote the number nobody can verify. Subscribe, and we'll keep using the ones you can.